real stories of werewolves, of Dogman from history, from your emails, illustrated and animated with the democratizing magic of machine learning AI. Welcome to Scary Stories.
Werewolf bit my hand. Dear Scary Stories NYC, a werewolf or dogman bit my hand less than a month ago, and now I'm worried that I might change when the full moon comes in a few days. I guess basically I'm hoping it was a dogman and not a werewolf. The wound already healed a couple weeks back, so I wouldn't even be thinking about any of this anymore. It's just that if werewolves are real, if that thing was one of those, well then this story might only be about to begin. Either this was a little blip in my life that's already in the rearview mirror, or else I'm about to become a monster and go out of control every full moon for the rest of my life. Those are sort of two very drastically different outcomes, if you think about it. I may just go on in exactly the same way I've been going, or else I might never have another ordinary day again for as long as I live. I didn't realize how much I loved my comfortable existence until this happened, and I was suddenly at risk of losing it all. I mean, my job is crap, my apartment is crap, my friends are a bunch of dorks, and I have no girlfriend. But I am fairly good at 3 different video games, and I do have fun moments in my life. If I'm going to be a werewolf moving forward into the future, then I'm going to basically lose the few happier fun things in my life. It's just going to be nothing but misery, violence, destruction, and fear. I wish we had never mixed our Dungeons & Dragons game with the Ouija board. That was the wrong turn I made in my life. That was the bad decision that led me to where I am right now. So I'm in a D&D game run by this very independent DM. He uses old 20th century Dungeon Master books and whatnot, playing the original version of the game. He's also heavy into various different kinds of werewolf lore, from dog soldiers to Twilight, and he always finds ways to work various different kinds of werewolves and lichens into his storylines and adventures. In one of our sessions, we encountered a character who could read our palms and tell our fortunes. Somehow we ended up having a Ouija board session in the story. We didn't literally have a Ouija board there. The DM decided what the board said by rolling dice and using charts he had made up beforehand. After we broke up for that night, one of the guys said he had a Ouija board he could bring to our next gaming session, and then next time we could get our answers from a real Ouija board. Well, the next time we played, I don't know if it was a real thing or if someone was faking it, but we had that real Ouija board and it started spelling out weird things to us. It claimed to be the spirit of a werewolf talking, and it told us we were playing in the wrong place. It said we shouldn't play inside. It said we should play out at the big rock. There's a big rock in the woods near us, and we asked if it meant that big rock. It did. So the next time we met to play, we all walked out to the big rock in the woods and sat down on the grass over there, planning to play our D&D session in those woods for added atmosphere or whatever. Plus, that was where the spirit of the werewolf told us to meet. I remember that we had been playing a couple of hours, and I was starting to feel too cold to be there anymore. I tried to talk the others into pausing the game and resuming in someone's room somewhere inside, where it was warm, and we had electrical lights. The other guys wanted to keep going though, so I said fine, but I gotta go relieve myself. So I wandered into the woods in an area that I guess was actually kinda dark and scary. I don't remember feeling scared though. I was just annoyed, and cold, and looking to do my duty and stretch my legs. While I was in the act of watering this tree, I started to hear things in the woods around me. I was at first wondering if I was making the sound myself in some way. As I finished and zipped up though, I continued to hear something moving around. By this point I could tell it was on my right, and down low toward the ground. As I watched, I saw a big old dog head stick itself out of the bush and look at me. I said, "Hello, boy," and he seemed to smile, panting with his tongue hanging out. That made me laugh and I let my guard down. I told him that he had scared me, and I reached down to give him a pat on the head. To my surprise, the dog nipped at my hand and cut the skin in several places. I shouted in pain and pulled back a step or two from that scene. It was then when I witnessed the dog's head rise up into the air, revealing itself to be on the shoulders of some kind of a dogman taller than myself. I am almost 6 feet, and this was at least 9 inches taller, maybe a foot taller. I couldn't see below its knees because it was standing behind some bushes, but he had been crouching his entire body behind those same short bushes just a few seconds prior. This creature had a wide chest like a man, and it had broad shoulders. It was covered in dark fur, but it was not a Bigfoot. The head was too much like a wolf's head. It had tall dog ears. It had a black dog nose. The snout was very canine. It was not ape-like in any way. But that body, at least the upper half that I got a good look at, was not very canine at all. Maybe the legs were, but I didn't really see those. At this point, I ran back to the guys and I told them I got bit by a dog the size of a bear, and I had to go home and clean my cuts. That freaked the guys out, and we decided to head toward the home of my one friend, whose mom is a nurse. She cleaned my wounds, which were just little tiny cuts, and she told me I didn't need a rabies shot or anything like that. I disagreed. I told her over and over that the dog was the size of a bear and was clearly a wild animal. Who knew what illnesses it might be able to pass on to humans? But Nurse Mom didn't even believe me that those were bite marks. She said it looked like I scratched my hand on some rocks. I think that what happened was that I pulled my hand away as the creature was about to bite down. This is why the cuts look more like scratches made on sharp rocks. At any rate, she told me what to watch out for in terms of infection and stuff like that, and she sent me home. None of the signs of infection showed up, and the cuts all healed up inside a couple or 3 days like Nurse Mom said they might. She gloated that she was right and that I was being silly. The thing is, she wasn't the one who was going to have to wait another full month to find out if she was a wolfman. Well, I did not turn into a werewolf on the night of the full moon. I did, however, have a terrible stomachache all night, and I woke up with 2 or 3 days worth of beard growth. Granted, for me, 2 or 3 days of beard growth is still not much, but I had a kind of a soft, downy 5 o'clock shadow. I used my mom's leg shaver razor to cut it off, and I got more cuts on my face from doing that than the dogman or werewolf had left on my hand on the night in question. My question for anyone listening to this is, what would you do in my situation? My friends said to forget about it, but I don't think they even believe in werewolves to begin with. I do, at least I do now. A dog bite wouldn't give me 5 o'clock shadow, but a werewolf bite might. Should I assume that first full moon was the worst it'll get? Or should I plan for it to get rougher each successive month until I too transform into a werewolf and go out in the night to create chaos and horror? I expected to know by now which way it would go, but I feel like the answer I got, waking up with several days' growth of hair on my face, makes things even more confusing and harder to predict. Now I'm just as nervous about next month's full moon as I was last month about this one. I feel a sense of doom every single day, ever since the werewolf bit my hand. I can't help what I kill. Dear Scary Stories NYC. I was having that dream again. You know, the one where you're chasing a rabbit. What? You mean you don't have that dream? Oh, well, then you must not be a werewolf. I've always believed in fate, in the intricate web that connects people's lives, guiding us toward our destinies. But these days I find myself trapped in a dark and merciless curse. My name is Jonathan, and I'm afflicted with lycanthropy. I woke up with a knot in my stomach, the undeniable sensation of unease coursing through my veins. The same familiar feeling that had plagued me for weeks, escalating day by day. I knew what was happening, and it terrified me to my core. I was turning into a werewolf. Every night, as the full moon inched closer, An inexplicable transformation lingered within me, growing stronger with each passing minute. It was a curse that I had obsessed over ever since I stumbled upon a mystical book hidden away in a dusty old bookstore on 13th Street. It was the summer of '89 when I uncovered that mysterious little book lost amidst the dusty shelves. Time seemed to stand still inside that bookstore as the world outside bustled with the chaos of modernity. The allure of the past had always intrigued me, and in that ancient tome, I found my key to unlock the secrets of a forgotten era. As I flipped through its fragile pages, my mind fluttered with excitement and curiosity. The book itself seemed untouched by time, its leather cover weathered and worn, sharing tales of sorcery and enchantment. I wasn't sure if any of them were real, but each spell held the promise of otherworldly powers, a ticket to a world beyond our own, a world where magic thrived and dreams were made manifest. I suspected it all wasn't really real, but it was written as though it were, and in those days, that was good enough for me. Without much thought, I purchased the book, my heart pounding with anticipation, as if the pages themselves held invisible forces ready to leap out and envelop me. Little did I know that within its series of incantations, nestled among those spells, lay a particular invocation to become a werewolf, a spell that I would dare to cast, oblivious to the inescapable consequences. I enjoyed the book privately, not wanting to share even the awareness of its existence with anyone I knew. I don't feel that people are generally to be trusted with power, and I was beginning to suspect that this book had genuine power within it. The words inside told me to read them aloud, while unclothed, under the light of the moon, in the woods. And I was still young enough in those days that I went ahead and did exactly that. Moonlit nights soon became my temporal playground, where I found solace beneath the glow of the celestial orb that my life was beginning to revolve around. With each passing evening, my spirit tingled more and more, from the inside out, as if a wild beast stirred within me, yearning to break free from the confines of humanity. And so it happened. On a fateful evening lit by a silver-bathed moon, I recited the ancient words from that forgotten book of magic. The words danced off my tongue, carrying a power I hadn't comprehended. For a fleeting moment, I felt the air around me shift, as though nature herself were acknowledging the existence of the spell. As the final syllable escaped my lips, a surge of energy coursed through my veins, transforming my world into a whirlwind of sensation. Bones cracked, muscles contorted, and a darkness consumed my vision. The transformation was swift and merciless. I had unwittingly delivered myself into the clutches of a curse. I had deliberately become a werewolf. The nights that followed were filled with an uncontrollable appetite for the chase. The moon's call seeped deep into my bones, a siren's song that defied all reason. I watched helplessly as the beast within me, born of ancient magic, took over my body under the ever-watchful gaze of the goddess Luna. I spent years seeking a remedy to undo the spell, poring over countless tomes and consulting hermit-like sages who possess knowledge of the arcane. But the curse remains unbroken to this day, stubbornly intertwined with my existence. It became evident that I was fated to live this dual life, part man and part not. Regret echoes through my memories as I reminisce about that fateful day in the bookstore, about the folly of my youthful impetuosity. But as the years passed, a strange acceptance settled within me, and I realized that the werewolf and I, are forever entwined. I've learned to embrace this duality, to dance between humanity and the night. So here I stand, a man burdened with a secret, forever ruled by the waxing and waning of the moon. The book that granted me this affliction remains a haunting reminder of my youthful naivete. Now my existence itself has become a testament to the power of ancient magic, as well as to the fact that some enchantments cannot be reversed, and some choices have irreversible consequences. Foolishly, I had unlocked the secrets of the book's pages, and now I was paying the price. Over the decades, I had built up an emergency bug-out routine in order to get as far from the humans as I could before the change took place. If I changed when I was in civilization, that meant someone wouldn't wake up the next morning. I learned that horrific fact the hard way. But fortunately, I lived 3 blocks from the woods, in an urban part of town. It was very run down, but I was lucky to even afford that. I knew that if I lost that apartment, it was back to looking for a cave in the woods to sleep in. One that's not already occupied by another dog-headed man, I mean. This is Michigan, after all. With beads of sweat forming on my brow, I rummaged through my belongings, collecting the essentials: a bag filled with clothes, a makeshift weapon, and my map of the nearby woods. My only chance at surviving the night without anyone getting hurt was escaping to the forest before the night fell upon the unsuspecting town. My heart raced as I sprinted through the dimly lit streets, the full moon looming ominously above. I knew time was running out, and each minute that ticked by felt like a second. But fate, relentlessly toying with me, seemed determined to prevent my escape. First, a common commotion brought the entire town to a standstill. Then a stray dog darted across the road in front of me, causing me to skid to a halt to avoid a collision. Impatience clawed at my chest, but I knew I couldn't afford to attract attention. I waited in silence, knowing that my ordeal was only beginning. As soon as I could resume my frantic pace, an abrupt downpour erupted from the heavens. Heavy rain soaked my clothes, plastering them to my body and obscuring my vision. I was alone, water weighing me down, yet that wasn't my biggest concern. With every soaking step, my transformation seemed to inch closer, despite my desperate attempt to outrun it. A blinding flash of lightning accompanied by a deafening thunderclap surprised me and caused me to stumble, narrowly avoiding a collision with a lamppost. My heart pounded in my ears, drowned out only by the relentless rain pummeling the earth. The storm raged on, but I couldn't afford to hesitate any longer. Finally, I reached the outskirts of town, the edge of civilization. My legs burned. My lungs ached. The relief washed over me. I was so close to surviving, to making those woods. But fate, relentless as ever, had one final twist in store for me. As I rounded a corner panting heavily, I found myself running smack into a police officer. He was drenched in rain, gripping his baton tightly. Panic surged through my veins. I had run right into the arms of authority, right as the moon reached its zenith. "Calm down, son," the police officer said, wariness etched across his face. "You're not in any trouble, are you?" My words caught in my throat. My body trembled with the lunar energy coursing through me. In that moment, time seemed to slow, the world crystallizing around me. I could no longer fight it. The transformation overcame me, the pain tearing through my flesh as bones shattered and reformed. Right in front of the astonished police officer, I hunched over, my body convulsing with pain. The clothes I wore ripped apart, unable to withstand the emerging beast within me. Fur sprouted from every pore, muscles expanding and twisting until I stood before him as a fully formed wolfman. The policeman's eyes widened in terror and disbelief, his hand instinctively reaching for his gun. Yet, as his trembling fingers fumbled, paralyzed by fear, I turned my gaze toward the shadows of the woods. The primal instincts of my newfound form took over, and with one final glance, I sprinted out into the night. Leaving the officer behind, my howls became one with the sounds of the darkness. I was now a creature of the night, a predator, roaming free. The curse had consumed me, and as the full moon painted the sky with ethereal light, I embraced my existence as the embodiment of both man and beast. When I spoke to my brother about all this just last week, he kept asking me to tell him what it was like to end someone, the way I'm pretty certain I've done. The fact is that I don't remember anything like that. I usually black out when I'm no, that's not the correct way to put it. I'm fully conscious when I'm the creature and the same when I'm me, but I just don't really remember very much about the other when I'm changed. Like when I'm human, I don't remember very much about what happened the night before. At least, not usually, but it's weird. Like, you know how sometimes you wake up remembering your dream, but other times you don't remember if you even dreamed at all? It's kinda like that. The nights I do remember are usually the tedious ones. The ones where I see a nice big plump rabbit go into a hole, and then I sit there behind a bush for the entire night, waiting for it to come back out again so I can eat it. The nights when I actually succeed in catching something, well, those most often get blanked out from my memory, and I'm grateful for that. It seems that once I catch one living thing, whatever it may be, that drives up my bloodlust, and I grow increasingly more manic and dangerous throughout the rest of the night. There isn't anything I can do to stop it either. I can't help what I kill. I do it entirely out of instinct. When I am the wolf, I admit that there are some peaceful moments, but the majority of the time, I'm looking around for something that's moving, and then I try to stop it from moving anymore ever again. If I'm hungry, I'll eat, but if not, I'll still stop everything from moving anyway, just because that's the way I was programmed to behave. Programmed by the spell I moronically inflicted upon myself. Once upon a time, there was a woman, Emma. She possessed a heart pure and compassionate, a beacon of light that shone through the darkest of nights. Emma had always been my saving grace, a sanctuary for my tormented soul, but now I feared the very essence of my being would unleash a calamity upon her fragile life. In the beginning, our love story was like a mesmerizing melody, igniting our hearts with an overwhelming passion. Every touch, every caress, felt more intense under the moonlit sky. But as time passed, an undeniable darkness crept inside me, devouring everything in its path. The beast within me emerged during those cursed nights, when my body contorted and pulsated with unimaginable pain. My senses sharpened, and a primeval hunger possessed my very core. It was the hour of the wolf, and I was powerless against my lupine side. Terrified, I confided in Emma, baring my soul and revealing the horrors that haunted me. She listened intently, her eyes brimming with concern, her delicate hand gently resting on mine. Emma believed that she could save me, that love could conquer even the most monstrous of problems. But in this case, she was gravely mistaken. My transformations grew more violent with each passing moon, my humanity slipping between my gnarled claws. Dark memories plagued my mind, of blood-soaked nights where my feral instincts took control. How could I allow the woman I loved to be subjected to such terror? I pleaded with Emma, my voice trembling with desperation, urging her to abandon the fool's hope that she could ever cure me. I explained that my affliction was a self-inflicted curse, an inescapable prison. Her touch, so gentle and soothing, would only serve as a catalyst to awaken that monster inside me. But Emma, forever selfless, remained steadfast in her belief. She saw me not as a monster, but as a wounded soul, in need of salvation. Love is stronger than any darkness, she would say, with an unwavering determination. And though her words settled fondly in my heart, they held no sway over my cursed existence. I knew the depths of the atrocities I was capable of committing in my lupine form, the lives I could end, the innocence I could tear asunder. The mere idea of Emma, caught up in the violent grasp of my other side, caused a torment so profound that it eroded the last flicker of hope within me. So I pleaded once more, my voice laced with anguish, and anguish alone. "Stay away, Emma," I begged. "Stay away, before my werewolf side brings only ruin upon you." It was a plea born of love, of the desperation to protect her from the monstrosity that resided within my fractured soul. But Emma, stubbornly resilient, would not yield. Her eyes met mine, filled with unwavering resolve. "Jonathan, I will not abandon you," she said, her voice imbued with a strength I wished I could summon. "We'll face this curse together," she said, arm in arm, until the very end. Her words struck me with a force I had never experienced, shattering the walls I had built around myself. Emma's unwavering love, her steadfast determination, had bridged the chasm between the man I once was and the monster I feared I was becoming. For the first time, I allowed a glimmer of hope to flicker deep within me. The two of us had some wine with our dinner, and toasted to the idea that we might have a future together. We danced and sang, and then collapsed into a chair, her on top of me, for a contented nap. But then, in my dream, I felt the changes overtaking me, and I woke up with a start, in great and severe pain and panic. I don't remember Emma being there at all. I only remember the terrible sensations that come when the transformation is already underway. I remember running from the apartment building and making my way to the woods, but I don't remember anything else until I woke up, sleeping high up on a branch in a tree, at dawn the next morning. I always wake up feeling incredible after being the werewolf. Sure, I have some muscle pains or cuts now and then, but there's an overall feeling of exhilaration the next morning as I wake up to greet the brand new day. And then I start to have to figure out how to climb down the tree that I apparently use claws to climb up into, and other issues like that. Almost immediately, I feel ashamed. If I have any clothing left on at all, it's always torn up in ridiculous ways. I'll be filthy, and sometimes covered in blood. The guilt starts creeping back in, too, as soon as I'm out of immediate danger. On that morning, I also had an extra concern. Had Emma been hurt the night before when I woke up in the process of the transformation? I hoped she had already gone to bed before that happened, but I literally couldn't remember clearly enough to know. This concern quickened my step on my way hiking out of the woods that morning, and my heart beat fast from more than just exertion. I couldn't wait to see Emma, so that I could hug her and tell her how important she was to me. But when I got home, there was nobody there. I didn't see any bloodstains or signs of violence, but I also didn't find Emma, and she didn't seem to have left a note if she went out. I freaked and called the police, shouting into the phone that my wife was missing after I only searched for her for maybe 20 minutes. Well, Emma was never found, and when one of the cops tipped me off that I was the main suspect, I beat it out of town into the woods, which is where I've lived ever since. If you can call this living, I'm not even sure I'd call it subsisting. But I'm alive at least. One thing about being a werewolf is that life is one long thrill ride. Except, when your loved ones go missing and it's somehow your own fault. That's not very thrilling at all. I no longer have plans. I no longer have goals. I just repeat the same patterns each day. Kill, eat, relieve myself, sleep, and repeat the process. Lately I've begun to have dreams of a lady werewolf. I wonder at this point if these are dreams of longing, or if those are partial memories of actual events, which happened while I was in the other form. For all I know, I have a family when I'm the monster. For all I know, the monster has more of a real life than I've ever had. For all I know, I may have a werewolf child. Now there's something to think about. So when you're having a bad day these days, try to remember, it could always be worse. You could have deliberately and idiotically given yourself lycanthropy.
Now it's a sticker sticking to my butt, sticking to my wall, everywhere I look, sticking where you like, with some exceptions, nothing to get, it's in the description. I'm gonna call you Scary Sticker Man, yo.
Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that when it cuts off after I think 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.